Okay, hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining me today. My name is Richard from the Seneca team, and I'm going to give you a rundown on everything you need to know about Seneca Premium and how that works from your side of things as a school. So if you have any questions on the session as we go, I encourage you to ask those. So the way it works on this chat is you'll find that you're not able to unmute yourself. But if you want to ask questions, just pop them in the chat in Zoom. So if you're not familiar with how that works, just click on the screen and you'll be able to access any of you'll be able to see chat down the bottom basically, and just be able to ask any questions that you've got. So on that as well, if you have anything specific you'd like to know about, then feel free to pop that in the chat now as well, so I can make sure that I cover it during this session. But if you just want a general rundown, then also that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to split this into sort of two main parts, if you like. So I'm going to go through a bit of background on Seneca and what it actually is, and a bit of the sort of science behind it and the research that's behind it. And then I'm going to give you basically a live demo of how Seneca actually works in real life, from a student's perspective, from a teacher's perspective, and also from what parents can see as well. So that's what we're going to talk to you about in this session. So to start off with, think about what Seneca actually is. So we see ourselves most commonly used across schools in the country as a homework and a distance learning platform. So students can log on, study anything they need to study from our 25 different subjects we cover, and teachers can monitor progress and things like that. And some of the best things about Seneca is that the way our system is designed is based on cognitive science. So what is shown to be most effective in learning in terms of the understanding of how the brain works, it's automatically baked into the way Seneca works. So you don't need to worry about whether your students, when they're doing some independent study, whether they're actually doing something that's effective, because we have shown that Seneca is effective at that, and I'll talk a bit more about the research we've done around that in a second. Secondly, everything is automated. So from a teacher's point of view, the marking and the analysis of performance and progress is all automated. Again, I'll show you what that looks like when we get into the platform. And then also everything from a student's perspective is completely adaptive to the individual. So the terminology you would use in the classroom for this adaptive nature is differentiation, but in a technology term, it's called adaptive learning. So we are able to basically completely tailor the experience to each individual, be that by learning what the student does and doesn't know. So that might be things like pushing students on who are doing really well in a particular area to harder concepts, and also giving more support to students who are struggling. Now, this is obviously really good in terms of making sure you're keeping students' engagement. As you will be aware, that pitching the content at the right level is very important. But also, as well as that, it's going to encourage students to progress at the fastest rate possible, because they're always seeing content that's right for their stage of learning. Now, I mentioned the cognitive science that we have embedded in the platform, and I'm not going to go into much detail around this, but we worked with a team of cognitive scientists and we still have an in-house team that sort of look at this to basically understand how Seneca could be developed to be most effective. And this is just a diagram taken from the Learning Scientists, which, if you're interested in cognitive science, is a really good website for resources that I'd recommend. But these basically 6 strategies are strategies taken from the field that we employ within Seneca. And then, again, as I say, I won't go into much detail what they are, but I'll show you how they work as we go through the platform later on. Now, this is obviously all theoretical. We obviously wanted to make sure that our implementation of the theory was also effective. So we completed a randomized controlled trial that looked at working out whether what we are doing was impactful, because at the end of the day, if it's not impactful, what was the point of us doing it? So we looked at this research with just over 1,100 pupils. And what we found was, when we compared Seneca to other independent learning tools like revision guides, as an example, we saw very similar pre-test results, but what you can see in the post-test results is that Seneca was over twice as effective in helping students to learn the content. So we see that as very much an effective validation that what we're doing is effective in helping students to learn as quickly as possible. Now, that research was peer reviewed and published. So if you literally just do a quick Google search, impact Seneca, it will come up. and you'll be able to read the research paper if you're interested. But of course, if you want to ask other questions as well, feel free to do so. Now, in terms of the content we have on Seneca at the moment, so we have content right from year 3 up to the end of A level and everything in between. And at Key Stage 4 and 5, the content we cover is linked to the exam board specifications. So the courses are exactly what your students need to know for their exact specification. And at Key Stage 2 and 3, we look at the national curriculum to basically pull the content around our courses. And the majority of our users don't have access to Premium. They just use our services for free, which may be something that you're familiar with on this in terms of your use of Seneca. But we currently have about 4.5, these figures are a little bit out of date, but currently it's about 4.5 million pupils, 250,000 teachers and about 50,000 parents. So lots of people using for free, and as I say, we're really pleased that we are able to support people, especially at the moment with everything going on, but obviously moving forward as well. So let's have a look at actually what is in Premium and how that all works. Now you've got a bit of a rundown of the background around Seneca. So you can think of it split into 3 main areas. You've got the student area, the teacher area, and the parent area. And each of those areas obviously has a different function depending on which one you're looking at. So to start with the students, we've got 2 main sort of areas or 2 main functions of the student platform. One is looking at learning features or learning tools to help students learn more effectively. And one is looking at learning courses. Now with the Premium subscription, your school will get access to the Smart Learning mode and Wrong Answer mode, which are basically our tools that help only available to Premium users, and they help students to get the most out of the different courses that we have. So Smart Learning mode is basically, you kind of think of it like a timetabling tool. So we look at all the data we have on students, and we are able to suggest different content for them to look at depending on how well they've done in other subjects, how well they've done in that subject last time they did it, how long it's been since they've looked at those topics, things like that. We basically create a little tailored timetable for them. Then there's also Wrong Answer mode. Now what Wrong Answer mode does is it brings together all of the wrong answers into one place for a student. So when used, obviously that is then really powerful in terms of helping students to focus on the area of the curriculum that they struggle with the most. And we've then got the learning courses, and these 2 like learning features or learning tools that I've just discussed, they help students to get the most out of the online courses that we offer. So there's 2 different main types. We've got our free courses and our premium courses. Now, as a school with access to Premium, of course, you still get access to all of the free courses and you can use them as much as you wish. But on top of that, and to supplement the different content that we provide in our free courses, we have over 800 premium courses as well, which is then available for you to use with your students. And as a teacher at a premium school, you can then set assignments for those courses. You can track progress and all the stuff you could normally do with a free course, you can do in our premium courses. It just gives you access to a greater breadth of content and different types of content. Now then we move on to the teacher platform. And again, that has 2 main functions. And one of them is to track progress and one of them is to set assignments. So you want to be able to see what your students are up to, and it's nicely presented, and all the data analysis happens automatically, which is nice. And then setting assignments in terms of, you can then tell students what you want them to complete. And again, you can see all the data on how well they do in those assignments. Now we also have a feature called Smart Reassign, which basically allows you to use the data that you have on students to basically give a really tailored, specific activity for students. So you could just go through and basically set specific topics based on how well they've done previously in the past. And again, I'll show you how that works in a moment. We then got the parent platform, and as I'm sure you're aware, there's a really strong link between parental engagement and student outcomes. So it's really important part of the platform that we provide, and parents can sign up to for an account for free, and they can see what their child's been up to in terms of their learning on Seneca. They can see how well they've done and see various different statistics. So all those 3 working together give you a whole different range of options for you. Now, what's best now is if I come out of this presentation and actually just show you how Seneca works in the flesh is probably best. So I'll just move on to this tab here. So if you're not familiar with the student account and what the student account looks like on Seneca, this is it basically. So this is where we search for courses in Seneca as a student. So I can come in here and I can see all the different 25 subjects that we offer here. I can see the different age groups that we offer. So again, I talked about earlier, right from year 3 right up to the end of A level. And then we've also got different prices. So premium, as obviously you get access to those when you become a premium school, and free courses, you get access to those, as any school can get access to those, or anybody can get access to those. And as I mentioned as well, every course we do at Key Stage 4 and 5 is exam board specific. So you can see it's exactly what your students need to know. And then we've got a number of different types of courses, which basically this is what I will, so I'll describe each of these different types of courses so you can see the breadth of content you have. And what I suggest is that after this session, I will send you a link to a dummy premium account, which will basically allow you to come in and have a look at the different subjects and exam boards taught in your school, so you can see what is included and for each subject, so you can sort of have a good understanding of that. Now, we've got these ones in black font here. They are all available for free, so I'll just talk you through them briefly. So our standard courses provide content that covers all of the curriculum, all of the specification, all of the curriculum in that subject. And it's a mixture of courses, content for students to read and learn. And then the majority of what we show students, about 80% of every learning session, is an opportunity for students to actually recall that information. So it's questions that students have to work out the answer to based on the content. And again, that links back to the cognitive science I was talking about earlier in terms of how we develop our courses, making sure that students get the most out of the learning that happens there by having to actively recall the information. We've then got the diagnostic misconception courses, which aim to identify students' misconceptions and also to correct them. And we've got standardized assessment, which will basically be they're not adaptive in any way, so they are a linear path that students go through, one question after the other for you to assess, kind of think about like an end of topic style test. That's what you'd get in the standardized assessment. We've then got vocab quizzes for the languages. And then we're on to our premium courses here. So the different premium courses we provide, I'll just go, there's quite a lot of them, different ones, so I'll just go through a few of them. The first one will be predictive papers, which you can think of as exam style questions within the context of Seneca. You can have a look at these and go through these, students can go through these. You as a teacher can set work on these and again, see how well students do as they go through. Then got hardest questions, which looks at giving extra content and guidance on the hardest questions or the hardest topics, I should say, within each course. So it gives students extra guidance on those. We then got courses that are very common, very popular, with students, called hyperlearning courses. And what they do is they break down the curriculum content into much smaller chunks with many more images, many more GIFs, more new questions for students to answer, and they tend to be quite short, sharp in terms of the pace and the way that they are structured. So students tend to quite like the sort of fast nature of those. Flashcards provide students with ready-made flashcards so they can test their knowledge on themselves. This Premium Booster and 4 to 5, also Premium Knowledge and 4 to 5 Booster, they look at targeting particular grade boundaries. So the 7 to 9 range comes in with the Premium Knowledge, and the 4 to 5 is linking for those looking to aiming for a 4 to 5 in different subjects. And then if you've got a sixth form, we've also got driving theory courses, which is a bit out of the scope of what you probably normally look at, but it's there if your students want it. And also application to uni courses as well is another one that's some students find quite useful in terms of like what it's like to study at university and how to write personal statements and things like that. And then the night before courses are designed to help students in the run up, maybe the week before their exam, what they should be looking at, what they should be focusing on. So as I say, I won't show you all of these because there's so much there, but what I'll do is I'll just show you a sort of broad brush, just a couple of different examples. I'll show you first of all our free courses, and then I'll also show you one of our predictive papers as well. So this is exactly what a student would do. I'd go in here and I'd go look for GCSE predictive papers. And then subject-wise, let's go for geography as an example. And you can see we've got the different exam boards here. I'm going to go for AQA, just an example. And you can see here we've got 3 different sets of papers. If I open it up, you can see it's split into paper 1 and paper 2. If you're familiar with the geography exam, this is what you'd see. You've got different parts. You've got section A, section B, and section C of paper 1. And it also gives you the options questions as well, which happen to happen in this exam board. So if we want to say look at a question on natural hazards, go in here, we click on the natural hazards question 1 question, and I can go in here and you see we've got questions, got the number of marks down the side here, and then students get an option to go through these and answer these questions. And as you can see, they're getting instant feedback on the answers. So if I'm not sure, I'm still getting feedback on that. We do longer mark questions as well. So the way these work is that we help students to structure their answers. So we say like point 1, tectonic hazards, and we give students a structure of like a model answer, what that should look like, to help students practice the knowledge, but also understand the exam technique that they should be using when they come to do their exams. So again, I can just click check if I'm not sure. And you see here how I've mapped it out. I've got danger 1, case study, danger 2, explanation. Then point 2, for example. So there we go. So we've got let me give the full top level answer there for students to look through. So it's really helping them develop first of all, their knowledge that they need to know to answer these questions, but also looking at the exam technique as well, and how they can look at structuring longer form answers, but also short answers as well. So that's what a predictive paper looks like as an example. I'll also show you one of our other courses, our free courses, so you can see what those look like as well. So for example here, if you're familiar with the spec, this is a chemistry AQA GCSE. I can go in here and pick one of these sections from the spec and look at catalysts as an example. And when I start learning, I will see some content first of all, and I can go through here and look at the content. And when I'm ready, I move on and look at the different questions around this content. So here I need to select the correct one. There you go. And we can answer questions on these as we go. Now, as I'm going, don't forget the system will be learning what I do and don't know. So I will be it will basically be adapting what I see accordingly. So that's what are 2 examples of our different courses that you'll gain access to. And as I say, there are a whole load more of different types of courses that as a premium school, you'll be able to call on to set work from. Now, I've mentioned a few times that as a teacher, you can set work, so it makes sense. Let's move on now. Well, actually, sorry, before I do that, before I move on and show you the teacher accounts, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you these other learning tools that I mentioned earlier. So do you remember I talked about the courses and how those work? Then we've also got these learning tools to help you get the most out of those courses. And the 2 we had were called Smart Learning Mode and Wrong Answer Mode. And they're just available to students up here. So if I click here, what you'll see is that I have all of my wrong answers listed in one place to revisit. So I can see when I did mixtures, or in the past, however many times I've done mixtures, I've got 13 incorrect answers overall. So I could just go in here and select a topic, and I can come in here and I can just basically look at all the incorrect answers I've got before. So I can basically focus on those areas that I struggled with most in those questions. So again, if I'm not sure, I can still get instant feedback and get the answers corrected for me. So I'm learning even when I'm not sure, but it's just helping me to focus on these. topics I struggle with most. And it just pulls out a list of questions. And don't forget, this is completely individualized for each pupil. So each pupil will see something specific to them in this wrong answer section. Now, the second area is the smart learning mode, which, remember, this is this timetabling tool, which looks at all the data that is sort of behind the scenes for me as a student. It looks at each topic. It looks at how long it's been since I've studied those topics, how well I did the last time I studied those topics, how well I did when I completed linked topics, things like that, to basically create a custom sort of order of sessions that I should revisit. And this links into the idea of spaced practice from cognitive science, to basically help students to revisit work at just the right moment for their learning. And this encourages them to apply that correct spacing. So again, you can see here, I've got a list of different topics that are suggested for me. And if I just clicked on this one, I'll just work through each of those topics one by one. So that is really it for the student platform. So you've got the different courses you get access to, then those tools that help you get better use of them. Now, we then got the teacher account as well. If you have any questions, by the way, on any of the student stuff that I've just shown you, please do feel free to pop it in the chat, and I can come back and show you more things if that's useful. However, let's show you the teacher platform. So we've got a couple of classes set up here. If you're familiar with this already, then that's great. But what I'll do is I'll just show you some of the highlights of what you can do on the teacher platform. So if I just go into one of these groups that I've got set up here, the first thing you'll see is you obviously got students in this class. If I want to, I can add different teachers to this class. So that allows, first of all, people to share teaching with another group, with another teacher, sorry, but also allows access to the data for senior leaders or heads of department. If they are added to this class as a sharing function, then they are able to see the data as well. So here I've got, as I say, some sort of highlights of what's going on in this class, and I've got some different tabs down the side here. And the first one I'm going to show you is the assignments tab. And this is where you say to your students, I want you students to go and do X, Y, Z. You can think of it as like a homework setting tool, or as something to set in class, or things like that. So when you want to set an assignment, it's very straightforward. You just literally click create assignment. I've added 2 courses to this class when I set it up, bit of a random selection, but just for demo purposes, I'm just going to go and show you how to do it for this one. So geography, for example, I can select any of these topics, select as many or as few as I want, and I can assign them to my students. You'll see here it gives an indication of how long it's likely to take as well. And if I assign that, I can then choose which students I want to assign it for, or I can just leave it for all. And then I give it a name, whatever it is you want to call it. And you can set a start and an end date as a teacher as well. So for this assignment, I can tell the assignment when I want it to appear for my students, which allows a bit of planning ahead if teachers are keen for that. And when I click create, what happens is it basically produces a link here, which allows me to share it with students. So I can link them directly into the assignment, and this will be available to share in any shared area that you have, VLE or Show My Homework or something like that, but also on things like Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, or you can send it via email as well. Now, once students go away and start to complete this work, what I'll do is I'll just show you one of these old assignments I've got here so you can see how it looks. So you can see lots of nice data for your students. At the top is the sort of first place to look. You can see sort of an overview of what's going on in terms of completion rates, how many students were late, things like that. And then some averages for the class as well. But then where the real data gets really interesting is you can see for each student how well they've done on each of the topics. So each of these columns is one of the topics I set in this assignment, and you can see how well your students have done for each one. And you can do things like sort by any of these columns. If you just click on the header here, you'll be able to see understanding new words there. You can see who's done really well. but also who's not done so well. And then you can think about how to support these students, Lorena and Destiny, Delma, etc. How you can support them to progress off the back of this. You can also change the metrics, so that at the moment it's best score selected, but I can choose most recent attempt, for example. You'll see the data just changes accordingly. But the other options you've got are worst score, average score, number of attempts, and the total study time as well. So they are all there and available, ready for you to use. Now, this is obviously all really useful data, but you're also probably thinking, okay, off the back of this, I'm probably going to want to, identify those students. So we had Lorena and Destiny who really struggled with this area. So you're probably thinking about putting follow-ups or interventions in place to support those students. And you can obviously do whatever you want in terms of working with them outside of Seneca, but we also want to give you the option to make it really easy to work in that really custom sort of tailored way for those students within Seneca as well. And for that, you can use what's called the Smart Reassign function. So for Smart Reassign, you click on that. It basically allows you to use the data from this assignment to automatically set work again for students based on how well they've done. So you might say want to set it for anyone who didn't complete any topics and anyone whose best score was less than 50%. You can just select those two, click Reassign, give it a name, and again a start and an end date. So whatever it is you want. And when you reassign, the system will basically go through each student and it will look at who's not met that criteria that you set and basically just set that topic again for those students. So you'll see here I've got a short list of students who have a sort of follow-up activity to do off the back of this. And that is, and remember, the system will learn and remember what they did last time, so the content they see will be adapted according to what they need to know for them as an individual. And obviously you'll be able to get the data through as well. So that's obviously really useful. We also provide data for you to understand what your students are doing when they're doing work independently as well. So you as a teacher can look at any work they're doing on Seneca. So as an example here, I've selected the geography course that I've got on this class, and I can select the different date ranges that I want to see data for. I can set a custom date range if I want, and again, I can just see the data nicely presented here. And then also you can see this for students as well. So in the students tab, you can see sort of a high level overview of like total learning time, average scores, number of sessions they've completed, and the number of correct answers they've got. And you can see that broken down for each student. So this is obviously with zeros just because these are fictitious students, but that would obviously populate with your students as appropriate. Now, this data is obviously really useful within Seneca and the way we break it down, but we're aware that people want to have access to this data outside Seneca as well. So anywhere there is data in any of these tabs I've just showed you, you can just download it to CSV, and that will just produce a spreadsheet with the data on if you want to use that. So that's it from the teacher's perspective. The final area that we have to sort of help you out with things is the parents area. Now, the parents area is an area that is really, really useful, and we're seeing lots and lots of schools really get benefit on this because there is that really strong sort of evidence-based link between parental engagement and student outcomes. But what parents can do is basically they can create an account for free. This isn't something that's linked to premium, but it's obviously available for everyone. And they can see exactly what their child's been up to on Seneca, and they can really feel part of the learning process by having access to all this lovely data. So that is that in terms of what we provide for people in terms of students, teachers, and parents. There's also the option to get data reports if you're for your senior leadership team, and they look something like this. So we'll be able to basically each half term give you an update on what's been going on across the school. So got lots and lots of rich data in here on assignment completion rates, how many assignments are being set by teachers, the different courses and different departments, and what usage is looking like across different departments, and also in different classes as well. You can see all the data on how well assignments being completed across different classes, as well as subjects as well. So there's lots of nice data there that will be available to you. if you'd sign up with our premium accounts. So that's basically that in terms of what we provide and what's available with your premium subscription. There's a lot of information I've just thrown at you there, I'm aware. So please do feel free to take it away and obviously have a think and assimilate all of this. But what I'm just going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second and see if there are any questions from anyone. So obviously if you have any questions and haven't had a chance to pop them in yet, please do put them in now. So there's a question from Rich. It says, do you have any videos that you can train and support students to get the most out of the platform? So yes, we do. So what I'm going to do is just link you to something there, Rich. And basically in our help center, we have a whole host of videos of how to get started. And these are also linked to from within the app as well. So for example, as a teacher, actually I'll probably just share my screen with you again for this. So as a teacher, what we do is we provide you the option to have, obviously we talk you through it as you go through the setup within the app. But if I, as a teacher, am going to create a new class, I just create the class name. What we do at each stage of the process of getting set up, we always give option to get help. So if anyone needs help at any point, they can just click on here, and that links them to a how-to video of how to get started and get set up. In this case, to add a course to your class and how to do that part of it. But yeah, through our help center, there's lots and lots of support on every single type of troubleshooting thing that you could think of. We've sort of written articles and made videos explaining how to get around that for you. So yeah, that's all there and available. And we're, as part of the sort of setup process of premium schools, we help schools to again offer one of these kind of webinars where we talk teachers through how it all works, and yeah, provide sort of ongoing support through different resources we can send to schools. Okay. Are there any other questions from people? Let's have a look. Okay, there's a question here from Beth. Beth says, is there an option to, so are teachers included in the price? So what I'd say about that is if you are a, so when you get a quote from us about how much premium is going to be, we charge on a sort of per student basis. And as part of that upgrade, we upgrade any teachers you need for free. So it's included within the price is the cost of the teacher accounts. The reason for that is we don't actually provide any extra functionality to teachers within our premium product. The only difference is you're able to view the premium courses as a premium teacher, because all the benefits we provide are for students when they're working on our premium accounts. So that's how that side of things work. But yeah, it's charged on a per student basis. And if you want to get access to a quote, I'll be sending you an email after this session to allow you to request a quote if you're interested. Okay, that looks like it might be all the questions. Okay, so Rich, last question just coming from Rich, says, can you set up weekly reports? So the way the reporting works for senior leadership is it gives you access to half-termly data reports, so like the ones I showed you before, to give you access to all the sort of extra data information. If you want more frequent reporting, you can obviously go in within the app and look at specific things on how that side of things work. Okay, well, any other questions, feel free to email me. What I'll do is I'll put in a, yeah, feel free to email me. My email address, if you want to take it down, is richard@seneca.io. I'll also write it in the different platforms that you're all watching this video on. I'll also pop that in the chat there so you can see exactly what it looks like. So, so yeah, feel free to send me an email if you've got any questions and you ask how it all works, or if you've got any sort of follow-up questions from any members of staff. I'll also send you a copy of the dummy premium account. If you haven't had a chance to have a look around that and try out your different subjects yet, then I'd encourage you to do so. and yeah, come back and ask any questions as and when you have them. But thank you very much for joining. I hope you have a great evening and yeah, enjoy looking around and deciding whether Seneca Premium is right for you. Thanks very much.